Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, February 5th. Welcome to the Transportation and Environment Committee. We have 3 items on our agenda, the first of which is a briefing from our state partners regarding the state budget and the impacts on transportation. And this is a really important conversation for us in Montgomery County because we recognize that Governor Moore has put forth his very first full budget of his ownership, and there are a lot of different demands and needs to be met. And a few weeks ago, a month ago or so, the 6-year Consolidated Transportation budget reflected a $3.3 billion reduction, which was going to have some severe impacts for Montgomery County, particularly for our ride-on service, our public bus service, which we know helps 58,000 people get around our community to work, to school, to do their daily tasks. And the budget was going to make some serious reductions to our budget here for the ride-on services. In addition to that, we know that WMATA is facing a $750 million budget hole, which is part of the compact by the district, Virginia, and Maryland, and want to applaud Governor Moore for being the first to step up and say that Maryland would contribute $150 million to WMATA, which not only is our metro system, but also metro buses. And we know that the metro system is a lifeblood of the DC region and what sets us apart from so many other jurisdictions around the country, but it's also that compact that sets us apart. And we need all 3 jurisdictions, and I know that Mayor Bowser and the district recently stepped up as well. So all eyes are on Virginia, but for purposes of this morning, we're going to focus on Maryland. And then there are a number of other reductions, proposed reductions, that have been made. But before I get into any of that, let me first invite up all of our state partners who are here. I know Ms. Biddle, Ms. Arnold, Mr. Morrison, I think Mr. Baker, Mr. Gunn. And we'll have you all introduce yourselves for everybody who's following the conversation. But it is a Monday. It is typically a slow day in Annapolis, so appreciate you coming out to Rockville to join us this morning. Before I turn it over to you and to Mr. Kenny, I'll open it up. Do my colleagues have any comments? No, we're good. Mr. Kenny, any opening comments from you?
Nothing to add. I think you introduced the issue well. I'll turn it over to our state partners.
Great. If we could, before we start your presentations, if everyone can just introduce themselves. We'll start with, I don't know who I'll defer to you all. Mr. Morrison.
Drew Morrison, Acting Director of the Washington Area Transit Office.
Matt Baker, Deputy Administrator for Project Development at the State Highway Administration.
Good morning. I'm Holly Arnold, Administrator of the Maryland Transit Administration.
Good morning. Samantha Biddle, Deputy Secretary, Maryland Department of Transportation.
Good morning. I'm Ray Biggs. I'm the Senior Project Director for the Purple Line.
Good morning. Derek Gunn, State Highway Administration, District 3 Engineer.
Excellent. We got a powerhouse team. Again, I very much appreciate you all coming in and talking with us because we do care about transportation here in Montgomery County, and especially at the T&E Committee. So I will turn it over to you all for your presentations, and then we'll have a conversation.
Great. Well, thank you again, Chair Glass and fellow members of the council. As stated, for the record, Samantha Biddle, Deputy Secretary of the Maryland Department of Transportation, and on behalf of Secretary Paul Wiedefeld, thank you very much for inviting us and spending time with us here this morning for an overview of our final 6-year Consolidated Transportation Program, more commonly known as the CTP, covering fiscal years 2024 to 2029. So getting right into the details of that CTP, as Chairman stated last month, Governor Moore announced a 1-year restoration of $150 million in funding to address critical transportation needs across the state. The added funding from the governor will enable MDOT to restore several previously planned reductions. The funding allows for MDOT to continue to drive the administration's commitment to building more equitable and sustainable transportation system to spur economic growth and connect Marylanders to life's opportunities. Broadly speaking, the governor's action restores funding for local transit service, as well as highway user revenues for highway mowing and for litter pickup. Building a transportation network of the future while preserving and maintaining existing services and our multi-billion-dollar infrastructure will take tremendous investment. As we look under the hood of the department's funding, there are several pressures on the Transportation Trust Fund which impact our bottom line. These pressures include historic inflation, increasing costs of labor and materials, as well as existing funding commitments, including the Purple Line and WMATA, dredging at the Port of Baltimore, highway maintenance, and bridge renovations and replacements. As an example, 21% of the final CTP is funded by motor fuel taxes, and we are seeing revenue from the fuel tax decline over time because of the increased fuel efficiency of hybrid vehicles and the rise in the number of electric vehicles. And while that's great for consumers and terrific for the environment, it's challenging for our budget and how the TTF is structured at this time. In the past, we have also benefited from about $3 billion in COVID relief funds, particularly for transit systems in the Washington metropolitan area and in Baltimore. But as many of us know, those dollars do run out this year. And this is a message we began to convey at last summer's MACO conference and continued through the development of the draft CTP. Unfortunately, some of these pressures were known, but it remains unclear exactly how we will be addressing them going forward. The message also came in our December 2023 CTP update that we published and did some additional outreach with all of our county and local partners, where we announced that the $2.1 billion deficit that was in our draft CTP had increased to $3.3 billion. But we knew that we did need to put out a balanced final CTP. And so balancing that final CTP included difficult decisions across the state and across all of our modes. This included deferring construction funding for expansion projects that were not yet advertised, cutting 8% from our operating budget, and additional capital reductions for state of good repair as a last cut. Despite these challenges, we are still delivering a significant capital program to improve our transportation system. The final CTP includes $20.2 billion of investment over the next 6 years. So this will advance major projects such as the Purple Line, determining the right plan for advancing the American Legion Bridge, studying transportation solutions along I-270's northern corridor, and maintaining service on the MARC Brunswick line while also launching a new midday service pilot. We will also maintain funding for safety programs and the planning and engineering dollars for major expansion projects. We understand continued momentum is imperative. Deputy Administrator Matt Baker will share more detail, but we are in no way pencils down. With the infusion of $150 million from the governor, MDOT is committed to funding many critical needs in FY25. And so specifically for Montgomery County, this means the full restoration of highway user revenue funding at the levels that were previously anticipated, restorations to locally operated transit system operating grants, and funding for state highway administration's highway mowing and litter removal to maintain our roadways. MDOT is also committed to developing unique transit-oriented developments, and we're working very closely with our partners at WMATA and throughout the region to invest in TOD at stations in Montgomery County. So altogether, our final CTP leans into Governor Moore and Secretary Wiedefeld's priority of leaving no one behind. And so now I'd like to toss it over to Administrator Holly Arnold to start with updates from our modes.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary.
Thank you. Again, good morning. For the record, my name is Holly Arnold, Administrator of the Maryland Transit Administration, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some information regarding MDOT's proposed budget and how it impacts transit throughout Maryland. As Deputy Secretary mentioned, to balance the impacts of the projected shortfall in the Transportation Trust Fund, each modal administration was directed to reduce its annual operating budget by 8% beginning in FY25. However, with the recently announced aid from Governor Moore and the general fund, the impact to MTA's operating budget was reduced from $98 million in FY25 to $36 million. This includes $26 million to fully restore operating grants to the locally operated transit systems, such as Ride On here in Montgomery County, and to adjust our funding beginning in fiscal year 25 so that the allocation distributions are more equitable and responsive to changes in local jurisdictions' investments in transit service. $8 million in general fund dollars will also continue to support MARC Brunswick line service to West Virginia, while also advancing expansion of midday service subject to CSX agreement and BPW approval. $28 million is also going towards maintaining our commuter bus service. And while commuter bus has not reached pre-pandemic levels, we do understand the importance the service has to connecting citizens to job centers, addressing the climate crisis by reducing carbon emissions, and to our roadways by reducing congestion and promoting safer and healthier streets for our entire region. We recently announced our proposed adjustments to commuter bus, which are designed to ensure that a minimum level of service within much of the commuter bus service area is retained. It does include the recommended elimination of 8 commuter bus routes and reductions in trips across 26 additional routes. I encourage riders to go to our website for full details on the proposed plan. They can submit a written comment, and they can see the full public hearing schedule. We'll be doing 5 public hearings, 2 in person and 3 virtual. In addition to our operating adjustments, it was also necessary to implement reductions to the capital budget, but MDOT is going to continue to prioritize all federal discretionary grant matches to ensure that they remain fully funded to keep our projects moving forward. Along those lines, I'm glad to say that the Purple Line remains fully funded and is now more than 63% complete. The Purple Line light rail vehicles are expected to be delivered to the Glen Ridge Operations and Maintenance Facility later this year. In addition to the Purple Line, efforts are underway to grow and improve our system throughout the state. Later on the agenda, MTA's Capital Program Delivery Officer, Kate Sylvester, will be providing an update on our MARC Growth and Transformation Plan. So I appreciate the opportunity to provide an update on just a few of the major initiatives at MTA, and I'm now going to toss it over to Drew Morrison from the Washington Area Transit Office.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Holly. As mentioned, I'm Drew Morrison, Acting Director of the Washington Area Transit Office, which oversees the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, WMATA or Metro, for MDOT. Hundreds of thousands of Marylanders rely on WMATA's services every day, which is why Secretary Wiedefeld includes Metro as one of MDOT's modes. The transit agency is an integral part of Maryland's transportation system. And as you know, Maryland, along with Virginia, D.C., and the federal government, plays a major role in funding Metro Rail, Metro Bus, and Metro Access, the paratransit service. We have been closely working with our partners in Montgomery County as we work to address the fiscal year 2025 fiscal cliff. So I'll speak a little bit to where we stand on the WMATA budget process, MDOT's own budget process, and the legislative process as it relates to WMATA. So currently, WMATA is continuing its formal budget process, which will include a Maryland public hearing in March that will give Marylanders an opportunity to weigh in on the draft budget being put forward at WMATA right now. And the Washington Suburban Transit Commission will also be hosting a public forum in late February to engage the public in Montgomery and Prince George's County on the budget. That budget that WMATA is putting forward assumes no increase in subsidy levels, and so incorporates large impacts to bus and rail service, Metro Access service, and changes to fare policy. But we know that there's ongoing work in the region about what the ultimate budget situation will be. The governor's budget includes an additional $150 million in operating funding for WMATA in fiscal year 2025. And we see encouraging signs from our partners in the district and in Virginia that they will be increasing their operating subsidies as well, as the chair mentioned. And a lot of this is due in part to the regional work that's been going on. And so great thanks to Councilmember Stewart on the work at MWCOG to really bring the region together about this critical need. One other key piece is that to implement this subsidy increase, we will need a change to state law to reset the 3% subsidy growth cap. And we are working with Delegate Corman and his colleagues to advance that legislation, which is moving through the process in Annapolis. So we really appreciate that we've been able to work closely with MCDOT staff throughout this process. And taken together, we believe that the subsidy increases will allow for a reasonable conversation about fair service and fiscal management policies, so we ultimately balance the fiscal year 2025 budget. And under Secretary Wiedefeld's leadership, we have substantially increased our coordination with both Montgomery and Prince George's counties on transit issues like this, and we'll continue to do so as we address this current year's challenges and the future of transit in the region. So now I'll pass over to Matt with SHA.
Thanks, Drew. Good morning, council members. Matt Baker, Deputy Administrator for Project Development at the State Highway Administration. This past November, SHA Administrator Will Pines provided the county delegation and some of you an overview of SHA's portion of the fiscal 24-29 CTP. Mr. Pines is unable to be here this morning and sends his apologies. He asked that I represent SHA and provide an update on SHA's activities and CTP investments. As you've heard this morning and in the past month, MDOT has made many difficult decisions to address the multi-billion-dollar revenue shortfall faced by the state's Transportation Trust Fund. At SHA, that includes deferring $438 million in capital program construction funding across Maryland including for all major expansion projects that we're not yet advertising. SHA deferred funding across the state. Specifically in Silver Spring, SHA deferred funding for the construction of the Maryland 97 Montgomery Hills safety and accessibility improvements. SHA never takes decisions like this lightly. While construction has been impacted, I am happy to be able to say that we have been able to retain planning, design, right-of-way acquisition, and utility relocation funding. This means for Montgomery Hills and projects like it across Maryland, project development is continuing to advance on schedule, positioning SHA to advance construction as soon as funding can be identified. While we're on the topic of Montgomery Hills, I would like to thank the fantastic community engagement led by the Friends of Forest Glen and Montgomery Hills. That's really ensured our design meets the community's needs while also minimizing impacts. And it was great to meet up for a field walk in December with the Friends, Delegate Charkoudian Solomon, and Councilmember Stewart. Decisions affected not only our capital program, but also our investments in state of good repair. SHA deferred $651 million in state of good repair investments across Maryland. And it also means deferring replacement of critical and aging maintenance equipment like dump trucks, tractors, bucket trucks, and putting off upgrades to our facilities. And beyond the capital program and state of good repair investments, as the Deputy Secretary mentioned, we cut our operating budget by 8%. That's about $27 million in our case, which does limit the frequency of activities like litter pickup and mowing, brush and tree trimming, drainage pipe and culvert cleaning, and curb and gutter repairs. So in the face of these severe impacts, we are very thankful for Governor Moore's recent decision to support our transportation systems by infusing $150 million into the Transportation Trust Fund. SHA specifically is receiving $10 million for litter and mowing, allowing us to continue these activities on a more frequent basis. Litter remains a constant, one we must work together to combat, and we'll stretch our resources to keep Maryland's roads and sidewalks clean. What we ask from you and your constituents is that you do the right thing to put litter where it belongs. That's not thrown from a car window, that's put it in a trash can. And every dollar spent on activities like litter removal is one less dollar we can spend on critical infrastructure upgrades. There are better ways to spend our limited funds. I do want to take a moment to update you on SHA's American Legion Bridge and 270 Corridor program. Building on 3 public meetings in Montgomery County in late 2023, SHA is retooling its focus, addressing the most critical transportation needs in the corridor. That's the American Legion Bridge and the west side of the Beltway up to I-270. And then in the longer term, I-270 north of I-370 or the ICC into Frederick County. While the ALB remains in fair condition, we know it will require replacement. When that moment does come, we want to ensure a multimodal solution that reflects the needs of the community well into the future. And as project development continues, SHA continues to work to identify funding mechanisms, including federal grant opportunities to lessen the burden to Marylanders. While MDOT and SHA are making difficult fiscal decisions and adapting to a new fiscal environment, it doesn't mean SHA's mission has changed. SHA continues to be dedicated to creating a culture of safety and to advancing critical infrastructure upgrades that keep Marylanders connected to jobs and opportunity. SHA is evolving, moving from an era in which the goal was to move cars to an era in which the goal was to move people. SHA's goal is to provide Marylanders and visitors choices. Whether you choose to travel by car, bike, transit, or on foot, you have the right to get there and get there safely. Ensuring you, your friends, your family, and your constituents can make these choices means SHA reimagining its transportation network, how you can make use of it, and how it can support your community. One life lost is one too many. I want to stress fatalities are people. They're family members, friends, colleagues. They're not a statistic. It doesn't matter if that person is a pedestrian, a bicyclist, a motorist. The impact of their loss is incalculable. Understanding this, Maryland made the right decision and adopted Vision Zero in 2019. To help make Vision Zero a reality, in 2023, SHA published Maryland's first statewide pedestrian safety action plan. We call it the PSAP, a data-driven plan that is enabling SHA to make data-driven investments in the safety of our network's most vulnerable users, bicyclists and pedestrians. While SHA was not able to avoid significant reductions in revenue, it did choose to prioritize investments in corridors identified by the PSAP. In the CTP, SHA strategically fenced off $100 million to advance design and construction of PSAP corridors, the first 5 of which were identified in December, and which include the segment of New Hampshire Avenue between the Capitol Beltway and University Boulevard. Not only is SHA using robust data to locate safety improvements, but also it's deploying new and innovative treatments at those locations. In December in Hyattsville, just across the county line, SHA opened its first protected intersection, improving safety for pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. Some PSAP investments will take the form of comprehensive corridor upgrades. Others will be a series of coordinated spot improvements. Either way, safety is priority number one. And while many of these larger projects will take time to be designed and constructed, there's no time to lose. In the interim, SHA continues to deploy continental crosswalk striping, pedestrian hybrid beacons, leading pedestrian intervals, right turn on red restrictions, reduced speed limits, separated bike lanes, and more across its network. I do want to acknowledge that Montgomery County is a national leader when it comes to adoption and implementation of treatments like these, and SHA applauds and appreciates Montgomery County DOT's leadership in this arena. Together, the county and SHA are working steadily toward making Vision Zero not just a policy goal, not just a mandate, but a reality. Collaboration with local partners continues to be essential. People who make use of our transportation networks each day don't care if it's a state, county, or municipal facility. What they care is that it's safe and it's reliable. Thank you to you all and many of your predecessors. Montgomery County consistently partners with SHA to advance shared goals. We look forward to continued collaboration and partnership. Appreciate your time and interest this morning. Deputy Secretary Biddle.
Thank you, Matt. Before closing out, if I may, I do want to acknowledge and thank the tremendous partners we have with Montgomery County, many of those who are here today, and just to say that conversations like the one that we're having today are an important step towards building and rebuilding a program that meets and hopefully exceeds the needs of Montgomery County and the region. Please know that we do understand the impact of some of the reductions in the CTP and are committed to being strategic and thoughtful with every available resource. So with that, I'll turn over to you, Mr. Chair, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Well, thank you very much for all of those updates. Clearly, we're in a better place than we were originally when the budget was proposed. And so thank you to your teams, to the Secretary Wiedefeld, and of course to Governor Moore and the administration for trying to make a course correction. And we know that we will need to keep an eye on this moving forward. But anything that we can do to mitigate some of these impacts now is really important. There's a lot to dissect, and I know colleagues will pick up on various pieces, so I'll hold off on asking everything that I heard about. But let me just pick up where we just left off with SHA and a lot of the Vision Zero work. There was a proposal in the General Assembly to extend the pedestrian safety efforts that we have undertaken here and apply them to state roads, which we know we need that partnership and collaboration given many of our larger arterials where incidents happen and people are tragically killed are state highways. Can you talk about either efforts in the budget specifically to do some of those upgrades, the light timing, and other efforts, because we're hearing there's a little tussle in Annapolis about some of those costs, and since we are talking about the budget, that's why I asked this question.
I think tussles aside, the fact of the matter is we're continuing to invest throughout the county and throughout the region. Like I mentioned, while we have larger programmatic goals, including from Vision Zero, our context-driven initiative, and things like the PSAP, we knew that in the time it was going to take to develop those products and the time it was going to take to figure out where to prioritize investment, that didn't mean we could sit on our hands in the meantime. So, for instance, since the beginning of 2019, we've deployed over 400 what I'm going to call context-driven, context-sensitive improvements throughout the state to increase pedestrian and bicyclist safety and comfort, providing additional choice and, not only easing the ability for people to get around, but giving them a wider range of choices for how to do that. And I know, Derek, I want to ask you some of the specific types of improvements we've done lately here in Montgomery County.
Thank you, Matt. To that point, we have and Matt mentioned it a little bit earlier in his remarks, we do have our pedestrian safety action plan. And we've announced several corridors that are moving forward. One in Montgomery County, I believe, Maryland 650, north of the Beltway, Powder Mill to 193. So that's going to go a long way to support pedestrian and bicycle safety along that corridor. But then we have activity at the district level, at my level, that we're still pursuing. We're always looking for opportunities to deploy context-sensitive improvements like lead pedestrian intervals, continental crosswalks. We leverage existing projects as best we can. For example, there was just a resurfacing project in Tacoma Park on Carroll Avenue, and we took that opportunity to implement continental crosswalks and a few other measures. So we're always looking across the district to deploy pedestrian and bicycle and multimodal safety improvements.
Appreciate that, and know that our delegates and state senators in Annapolis continue advocating, and appreciate that partnership, and there's always more to do. Let me ask Mr. Morrison about WMATA, and as the negotiations are underway with regard to the funding, can you share with us what some of the priorities are for the department and for the governor? And even more specifically, over the last number of years, we have been able to end the turnbacks on the red line and increase frequency. And I know that as we come to terms with whatever the budget might be, some of that progress might be in jeopardy. Can you talk with us a little bit more about where you all are in these conversations?
Sure, and I think it's important for folks to understand that we are in this sort of two-track situation with the WMATA budget, where the general manager was able to put out the budget that does not have the additional subsidy, because when he had to put out the budget, all of the pieces, were not in place. And so you see with the public budget a large range of impacts, including the creation or restoration of turnbacks on the red line, and actually creation of turnbacks for blue and silver line riders in Prince George's County as well. I'll just say turnbacks are definitely a concern for us, and something we do not want to see in the service provided at Metro. It's fundamental for the vision of economic development in Montgomery County to see high levels of service on the red line, just as it is on the blue line corridor for Prince George's County. So we are working with our colleagues to prevent turnbacks in the budget, and we're generally trying to better understand, what the range of potential impacts can be. But we are very hopeful that at the funding levels that Governor Moore put forward, that we're starting to see from our jurisdictional partners, we'll be able to talk about, a more reasonable range of choices, and we will definitely continue to reinforce the point that we do not see turnbacks as a viable approach for service in Maryland.
Very good. And you also shared with us the public engagement opportunities, and I'm aware that they are still in work in progress, and so I look forward to joining my colleagues and attending those sessions and hearing what residents are thinking. Last question from me. We do have a representative from the Purple Line, and so would be remiss if we didn't get an update on where that project is right now.
Just a quick update. So one thing that's probably really relevant for you is Talbot Avenue Bridge. That'll be opening up in the next month or two. That'll be a big milestone that we are looking forward to. Also, Administrator Arnold mentioned that we are bringing our first LRV vehicle this year. That'll be sometime in the spring or summer. And we're continuing a lot of construction. If you look across the alignment, you'll see a lot of tracks starting to go in. Also, we have the CCT percentage that we're including the JCR now. So you see how we're tracking that. We're now at 44% as far as where that trail is, and we're at 63% overall with the project. But we have a lot of construction. Over 1,400 workers now are on the alignment, working across the alignment. And we're working with all our various partners, including SHA on the pedestrian parts. I'm really working to be ahead of the pedestrian issues across the alignment, and doing some partnerships there and talking and how we address both the current situations and the future situations when it comes to motorists and bicyclists and pedestrians.
Great. And so I just want to re-up what you said, 63% of the project is complete.
Yes.
Okay. It's a good number. With that, I'm going to turn it over to colleagues. We'll start with Councilmember Balcombe.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, very comprehensive. So I have two issues, one macro, one micro, neither one easy. So from the micro perspective, the 270, the bridge, so what happens now in terms of funding mechanisms? So what are you looking at, given the recent information about the federal grant. So where are we with funding that?
No, great question, and you're absolutely correct. Does not have an easy solution or answer right now. So we did receive, information recently that one of the applications that we submitted over the summer, was not successful, and we, have many other paths forward, including some investment opportunities in the near term, and then also we expect that same program to have a funding opportunity notice go out again next summer. So continuing to pursue these federal grants is paramount to the path forward. But we really are looking at what the public delivery model will look like more broadly, and I think that some of those concepts are going to be developed jointly between State Highway Administration, folks at MDOT headquarters, as well as the Transportation Authority, our tolling agency as well. So as we continue to advance what exactly this program is going to have complete within it, because we do know that this really needs to be a program and not just a project. We need to be, taking all that great feedback that we got in the fall and building it into what this looks like. So the delivery model is going to continue to evolve as the project moves forward. I would hope we would have some more information on that ready later this year, but for right now, we're certainly not pencils down, and this is not the last federal opportunity that we will be pursuing.
So thank you. And looking at the opportunity for grant next summer opening up, how would that application be different than the one that wasn't funded?
I think we have the advantage of a lot of the work that we've been doing over the past 6 months and the work that we'll be doing over the next 6 months. I think when that application was submitted, though, we were just at the point of, announcing the shift and realignment and where the project was headed. I think our federal partners are really looking to the state for a better understanding of, what is going to be the same or different about this project. And that's the work that we have upon us to really try to crystallize more of those details. We also do have some pending litigation that we are working to work through in regards to a challenge to our environmental document. So that in itself is a factor that may have weighed into the grant outcome, but we continue to work through more and more components like that and advance the project a little bit further. I think at that point in time, as these programs and projects proposals advance, I think our federal partners take a look at and see, where was it last year, where is it this year? Sometimes it's just about getting into the pipeline and then working closely to make sure that we're answering any questions or concerns that they have about the project moving forward. But given its geography and its importance to the region, we have real ongoing dialogue with our federal partners, both at the division office level in Baltimore and also at the national level. I'll be seeing some of those national partners even later this afternoon. I'll defer over to Deputy Administrator at State Highway if there's anything else you'd like to add. Good.
And then the much broader question is the revenue, the tax revenue. So good for us that the gas tax revenue is going down. I think that's something that we need to celebrate from an environmental perspective. How will the state look at replacing that revenue, and what kind of mechanisms are you considering? And so, if you already have ideas in mind for replacing that revenue, that would be great. If not, what is the process for kind of understanding how we're going to replenish that revenue?
So there's a lot of activities kind of happening all at once right now, and one of the activities that just took a break as we headed into this legislative session is the work of the Train Commission that had started off last summer and carried us through until January 1, when they published a report. There was the interim findings that said some of the things that we should look at are the impact of electric vehicles on our revenue source, and what should we be doing? How should we be looking at making sure that electric vehicles are accounting for the impact there's on the roadway. I think the weight of vehicles more broadly is something that we're seeing come out in some legislative proposals. So looking at different ways to kind of account for that, but at the same time, not doing so in a way that it discourages the transition to electric vehicles. So that's a challenging conversation to be having right now, but we think that there are a lot of different proposals that may come out in the next few weeks that'll give us a good basis for conversation about about that electric vehicle question. I think we're also looking at some different approaches to the way that we look at tolling in terms of out-of-state Easy Pass drivers. That was another recommendation that came out of the report. But so that the Train Commission will resume its work after the legislative session, pick up in the interim. There's a lot of different ideas that we're kind of just scratched the surface of in some of the earlier conversations. Some of those are looking at ways that other states and other regions have looked at things. And because we're in the Mid-Atlantic, something like a mileage-based user fee sort of opportunity is one that we would want to work very closely with other states on to make sure that anything that we're working on in our state works in others. So we have the opportunity to be taking part in a pilot for a mileage-based user fee program. Actually kicked off just last week. I'm happy to share some information with the committee on that because it's a small scale for right now, but the data that's collected is going to be some of the information that'll help us to establish what this could look like as far as, you know, one of the types of solutions to look at those revenue opportunities going forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stewart.
Great. Thank you. Actually, I'm going to pick up on that question because there was a lot of great work that the Train Commission did, and then they kind of shifted towards the end because the news about the CTP came out. And I know, Deputy Tech Secretary, you said you are pencils up and working, which of course we know. But thinking about, you know, this time next year, you know, are there things that we can do in partnership to make sure that we don't end up in the same place where we have to hear from the governor and all of you that we're facing great reductions in our services and in, you know, capital projects and other things? Just sort of thinking about the timeline of how are all these things coming together and knowing you are working really hard on this.
No, and I think certainly the first thing that comes to mind is always keeping the open lines of communication throughout. And I think that we have, you know, had some more of these interim touch points. I think we'll look to do that. Really seeing where we come out of this legislative session is going to be helpful for us in helping us to chart that path forward. But I think there are some conversations that can be had over the summer, making sure that we're all in full alignment about what our priorities are. And we do appreciate the priority letters that are submitted, you know, by each county. You know, it may be beneficial for us to have some follow-up conversations once we receive those and before we get into, you know, the development of the draft CTB, because there are just so many things that we want to get done. And if, you know, we're going into a CTP season that looks like we're going to be constrained again, I think we could, you know, have some more productive kind of working session level conversations to better understand, you know, where those things are. So the continued partnership on, you know, helping us to advance the things that are in our development and evaluation pipeline, that will help us to continue to move those projects closer to construction, de-risk them, and get them ready to go. So a lot of these things are already in the works, but in terms of, you know, where we are from a revenue perspective and, you know, looking ahead to that, I think that it's also important to realize that the Transportation Trust Fund isn't the only, you know, revenue source in the state that's feeling some pressure. And so I think it'll be really important to track where we are with the opportunities that we're exploring, as well as looking at, you know, where the general fund may be trending over the next year as well.
Great, thank you. So I just need to add some thanks. One, thank you so much for the WMATA funding. I think that was critical, came at a very critical time for moving conversations forward. And I think, you know, you have partners in Montgomery County on that. The council has already sent a letter of support for Delegate Corman's bill. So looking forward to that. And of course, maintaining the Purple Line funding. And thank you so much for the pre-opening of the Talbot Avenue Bridge this fall. It meant a great deal to the community. And I will say, in terms of just working together between State Highway, Purple Line, and the community, this went a long way into them seeing the realization of this project. Having said that, though, being 63% complete means we're also 37% incomplete, and our communities are feeling it. I think this is in terms of constituent services and other things, emails and calls we get, it is related to the Purple Line. And I would just be remiss not to use this opportunity to say, like, we continue to need help in terms of addressing the communities most impacted, the businesses and the residents, are especially around our schools. the situation still is not great around Silver Spring International Middle School, and we need to do better. And we still have a long way before these projects are going to be complete, and we need to do better on that, and I'm looking forward to continuing those conversations. And I do want to just say thank you to SHA for all of your work. And since I live right near what you did in Tacoma Park, it was a little shocking at first, I will say, driving through the intersection, but it's a great improvement. And I appreciate the, moving forward with projects when they're happening. And so I do want to do a shout out to Mr. Mogus, who has been excellent. I'm glad he got a promotion. That just means we get to work a little less with him here at the district level, but he has always been incredible to work with and responsive. So I want to thank you for all of that. And, maintaining the Brunswick line service to West Virginia, exploring the midday pilot. We talked about the Montgomery Hills project. So much of what you're working on impacts my district. It impacts the entire state and Montgomery County, but I feel like for each of you, a lot of things are happening in District 4. I appreciate the communication, look forward to continuing all of that, and particularly working on the Purple Line stuff. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you for raising some of those issues, particularly the Purple Line. You and I live in that same area, and we see it every day. And one of the things to keep in mind, and I shared this with the secretary when I met with him late last year, was that this is about social justice, and in specifically with regards to the communities that are most impacted, the people who are trying to walk in that area, and people who are driving their cars and are having to get new tires and realignments because of the work. So thank you for raising that. I have a question for Ms. Arnold. I know one of the reductions, I think it was proposed, or you can give me an update if it's been reinstated, with regard to some of the commuter lines, right? And so I'm curious if those proposals were done because of the state of teleworking, or can you shed some light as to the thinking there, because we want to get people off out of single occupancy vehicles, we want to get them back into the office. So
Yeah, absolutely. So when the initial reductions were made, it was an 8% cut that we had to make on MTA's operating budget, and we were trying to really balance. Most of our operating is service, right? That's what we do. It's either the service we provide in Baltimore, or the service we provide statewide, and so we looked at what was going to have kind of the least amount of impact. And so looking at our commuter bus, the ridership there is still between 30 and 40% of what it was pre-pandemic. A lot of the folks are now teleworking. The federal government in particular is a huge driver of our commuter bus ridership and is still not fully back in the office. And so that's why we made the decision that commuter bus rather than some of the core services that we have in Baltimore. I know it's still a really tough decision. A lot of folks still really do depend on it, and that's why we're very thankful for the governor for allowing us to continue with the 28 million of commuter bus service. So every area that currently has service will still have it. It'll be less, it may be different routes, but they will still have access for the folks who do really rely on it.
I appreciate that. One of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation is first and foremost for people to recognize what the impacts of the state budget would mean to Montgomery County, but also there's the other side of the coin, which is what is the state of transportation and usage in Maryland. And clearly with teleworking in Montgomery County, we have lots of folks who are comfortably working from home, doing their jobs day in and day out, and thus resulting in the WMATA situation that we were in, the MTA situation that we're in, and as recently new EV owner myself, the gas tax situation that we're in. So there's lots of compounding factors here, but it's really important for people to understand with eyes wide open what got us into this situation and that we work collectively to get ourselves out of this situation. Any other thoughts or comments from folks? Mr. Kenny, do you have anything else to add? You're good. Any final thoughts from you all as we work through the legislative session and this budget?
No, just thank you for the opportunity for the conversation today, and look forward to it continuing.
We appreciate your partnership. Again, our hats off to our Montgomery County delegation, who every single member of that delegation works with us collaboratively to make sure that we get the transportation funding and make sure that the roads are safe and efficient for everybody. And thank you for spending your morning here in Rockville instead of Annapolis or Baltimore, case may be. So thank you all very much, and we'll be in touch. Ms. Arnold, you might be staying. Yeah. No, you can stay. Thank you again. So next conversation, a similar outgrowth of the previous one. We are going to be getting a briefing on the MARC Growth and Transformation Plan from MDOT and MTA with regard to our Maryland Area Regional Commuter Service, otherwise known as MARC, our rail service that has 11 stops in Montgomery County. All of them are different. I think I've been to all of them, which is a fun little tour. If folks haven't done it, maybe it's something that you could. I follow you on social media, and I know that you are fond of all of our transportation networks. But really important hubs for growth, and this council and Montgomery County and our delegation have long been on the record of making sure that we can better utilize our MARC rail, so that not only we have more transit-oriented development, but more transportation alternatives as well. So I'll turn it over to you. I don't know who wants to start, if it's you, Ms. Arnold.
Yeah, so I'll just let the team introduce themselves and do a quick intro. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the MARC Growth and Transformation Plan, which has had a series of names and iterations over the years. You know, it's been the MARC Growth and Investment Plan. We did our Cornerstone Plan in 2019. This new iteration, the Growth and Transformation Plan, is really, I think, a lot of lessons learned from prior plans. We're trying to put some real details and data behind what the long-term plans are, right? Like, we just don't want to throw everything out there. We want it to be clear of like what is achievable, what's achievable, and what the timelines for those might look like, and put some real dollars with it. And so the team has been working on that. We put out a survey last year. I think it'll be a great opportunity for us to have a good conversation, you know, post-pandemic, with these new travel patterns that you've identified, as what are the needs and how are we going to invest in the system as a state. So Kate Sylvester, I'll turn it over to her to take the away.
Thank you. And I apologize, I'm almost over this cold. I'm Kate Sylvester. I'm the Deputy Administrator and Chief Program Delivery Officer for MTA, and I'm joined with Daryl Smith.
Hi, Daryl Smith. I'm Director of Statewide Project Development, newer to MTA, and yes, I really was that consultant guy you all met before on Right on Reimagine, so good to see you all. Thank you.
We're very happy to have Daryl on the MTA team now. He's heading up statewide project development, which builds capacity for our planning team, which we're very excited about. So as Holly mentioned, there's a slide deck here that's being projected. I'll walk through this to give you a little bit of the context and status of where we are with the Growth and Transformation Plan, and we're excited to hear your feedback and input as well.
Great.
So quick overview, this is our MARC system. We'll do a little bit of overview of the plan approach, touch on the previous work that Administrator Arnold mentioned, share with you some high-level results of the public survey that was completed, and talk about where we're going from here. So the approach for this plan, of course, any good plan starts with goals and objectives, so that'll be a component of it. But from there, we're developing service plan scenarios, so sort of propose potential schedules and levels of service on each line. We'll be evaluating what the major investments are to achieve those levels of service. That's a little bit tricky because, of course, these are rail lines that are owned by CSX and Amtrak, so it's subject to their approval. But we're taking it from a sketch modeling level on our side, a sort of proposal to those host railroads, what we think is a reasonable level of infrastructure investment to achieve the service levels. And from there, we'll be developing 6 individual investment programs. This is a requirement of Senate Bill 514 from 2022. This is the Maryland Regional Rail Investment Act. I have that title mostly right. So the 6 programs are, of course, the Brunswick, the Camden, and the Penn lines. as well as new service north on the Penn Line to Delaware that would connect with SEPTA's commuter rail service, run through service to Alexandria, Virginia, and then a Western Maryland extension beyond Martinsburg. So we kicked off the Growth and Transformation Plan last fall with a project webpage and public survey to gather some input that sets the context and develop the vision and goals. We're now kind of getting into the phase of digesting that preliminary input and doing market assessment. We've talked about the changes with travel patterns as we kind of come out to this post-pandemic world and what that means for commuter-based travel. And that's part of the market assessment. We're also doing equity analysis to look at how we make sure that we're planning for a MARC system that serves a wide swath of Marylanders. And also beginning service and operations analysis, which gets into that sort of market scenarios, service scenarios component I mentioned. Over the summer, we'll move from there into the capital programming piece. What are the investments that are needed to support the desired service levels? And there'll be more stakeholder engagement. That'll include local agencies and communities, as well as the host railroads, having some conversations with them to make sure that what we put forward in this plan is something, we won't have their approval. That's just not how they work. But at least we are ground truthing it with them and putting forward something that we believe can serve as a roadmap and serve as a grounded plan of something that we believe we can implement. And then we'll wrap up next fall with a virtual public meeting just due to the geographic nature of the MARC system and be looking ahead towards implementation. So I want to step back to just the context and the background for this. So this is the MARC Cornerstone Plan, was the previous iteration of this plan. It was released, I think, in 2018. It was, in 2019, I guess. I'm thinking the pandemic was 19. All the years prior to the pandemic. And it included a lot of information about the context and history for MARC, as well as the state of good repair needs required to keep the system operating at a high level of reliability and safety, station improvements and safety improvements we need to see as we mature the system, as well as broad visions for capacity improvements. The Growth and Transformation Plan takes that a step further, incorporating all of the things that have changed during and post-pandemic. But I think, as Holly mentioned, what we're really seeking to do with this is to take all of the modeling and analysis that we've done over the last couple of years and prioritize what's in there into something that really can serve as a roadmap for a realistic plan that we can implement. I apologize. Another component of work that we have that feeds into the Growth and Transformation Plan is the Brunswick Line technical report that we did last year. We published it in just about a year ago. So this dove into potential service enhancements on the Brunswick Line, some preliminary high-level modeling of what those infrastructure requirements would be, and did some detailed look at the natural and physical constraints along the Brunswick Line, of which we know there are many. There are some of them listed here. And then if you go ahead to the next slide, please. The conclusion of this study is this, what you see on the slide here is, I think there are six or seven potential infrastructure investments along the Brunswick Line. So we know that third track capacity, additional capacity, is in all likelihood necessary to improve service on the Brunswick Line. So what this study did is it said, okay, where are those segments where that's actually potentially viable, where we're not going to have such dramatic environmental impacts that we really shouldn't even be talking about it, and where it would give us the capacity necessary to have a strong argument with CSX that this should enable additional rail service. And so that's the projects that you see here. And this is now a starting point that we take into the Growth and Transformation Plan to do further analysis, further modeling, and further conversations with CSX to prioritize and really look at which of these should come first and which of these will help advance our priority service goals. So coming back to the Growth and Transformation Plan, where we are today, we completed a public survey late last year. was open for 2 months, and we had, you see, 4,700 roughly responses, advertised in a number of ways, and pretty good coverage across the MARC, the territories that MARC covers across the states. We were pleased to see that. The respondents of the survey also fairly consistent with the MARC ridership, not necessarily with the residents of the state. It trends higher income, more white in some areas relative to the service area, but reasonably representative survey results. And about 70% of the respondents are current riders, half of them traveling at least once a week, and half less frequently. So again, we were pleased with a range of survey respondents that we were able to reach. And the key questions here that the feedback we were looking at to sort of drive how are we looking at potential service scenarios and prioritizing among the potential infrastructure investments is when is it most important to provide additional service? We all are aiming for increasing service. And what you see there is additional weekend service and increasing frequency are the highest requested service types, followed by serving new destinations. Now, I think that probably covers a lot of different things. There's the expanded territories as well as people who probably would like to have a stop closer to what's convenient to them. So we have to dig into that one a little bit more. Then on the right-hand side, you see there the question and trade-off between additional rush hour service versus all-day service. And both riders and non-riders are preferring all-day service relative to just additional rush hour service. So that's interesting to see. And then the final point here, sorry, diving into the data. The final point here in that bottom right corner is that we did a very similar survey during the Brunswick Line study. So we have some additional data just from Brunswick Line riders. And Brunswick Line survey also stressed increasing frequency. You see there the highest priority was weekend and rush hour. So moving forward, we'll be finalizing the goals and priorities about how to look at these different service scenarios, advancing market viability assessments, and then refining our service scenarios. And project website and information if you'd like to see any more information. But with that, I'd be happy to take any questions or input about what your hopes for the plan might be.
Great. Thank you very much for that detailed overview of the plan and the current usage, right, and aspirations of our residents and of current users. You know, MARC is in a very interesting space, right? I'm originally from New York, Long Island. I took the Long Island Railroad, right? And I usually think about Long Island Railroad in terms of WMATA and Metro as we serve suburban areas, and it is a system trying to figure out what it is. Is it an urban transportation system, subway line in DC, or is it a commuter rail when you're going out to Shady Grove and parts outside the Beltway? But MARC is a commuter rail at its heart, and there's no question there. And I think more people want to be able to take it. And we're trying to figure out how to make that happen. Two questions I have. One is from a current user perspective. Looking through the data, I see that in Montgomery County, the highest usage is from the Germantown station, and then Silver Spring, and then Rockville. Can you talk about those commuting patterns? Are they all southward are they all into DC largely?
Yeah, so our service right now facilitates that inward movement. So we have, yes, very much inward in the morning and northbound in the evenings. That's also the service that we offer, right? That's what it is. But we do see some people taking shorter trips, people who might get on at Germantown and get off at Silver Spring to travel across the county. So it's not, it's certainly not everyone traveling all the way to Union Station.
And that was, right, the inartful question, right, understanding the morning, the AM and PM commuting patterns. What strikes me, what I find interesting is particularly the Silver Spring and the Rockville stations where they are adjacent to Metro. Do you have any data or insight as to why people are choosing MARC as opposed to Metro? Is it just faster? And particularly on Rockville, I guess it would be a straighter line, right, than having to go through what would then be a long L part, but Silver Spring is right there too.
So we did look at, in the Brunswick line study, the travel time from, if you take MARC from Rockville to, if you're going all the way to Union Station, and same thing at Silver Spring. If you're going from Silver Spring to Union Station, the travel time is pretty comparable. If Union Station, that area, is your ultimate destination in DC. At Rockville, you think you save, it's 10 or 15 minutes, I don't recall
You have
exactly.
to go through the city, yeah.
Right, I think also to travel across Montgomery County faster on the MARC system. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. Particularly Silver Spring, which is the second most used station with, according to the recent data from 2022, 188 people daily take it, right? So interesting. The broader question I have is about the relationship with CSX, which seems to be the impediment. Aside from budgetary, right, it's how we manage those shared lines. Can you provide a little insight as to how we'd be able to move forward with CSX owning those lines?
So we're in active dialogues with CSX all the time. We've been, as was in the information about the restoration of the $150 million from the general fund, talking to them about adding 2 additional trains on the Brunswick line. So it's an ongoing conversation with them. We have provisions in our access agreement for how we go about evaluating additional service. And it changes over time depending on what their business priorities are and what their business projections are of the Brunswick line. So that's one of the challenges we have, that what is a viable option with CSX today might not be a viable option with CSX 3 years from now. So what we're doing is trying to sort of work in parallel as we develop a longer range plan, also be working on more focused negotiations with them to try to get to a point where we have some real commitments from them, because without that, there's no guarantee that those positions won't change.
And because of those negotiations, the need for those negotiations, there's always been a call for having a third line, right? I don't want to call it the third rail, right? We would welcome the third rail in that part, but a third line, what's the viability of that, prospects?
The third track along the
Third track, thank you.
That's so those segments in that map that I showed, the several different segments, that I think we're in a good position where, CSX would welcome us to come in and build additional infrastructure along their line that would help their business proposition too. I think where we have to try to work together with them is to recognize the real significant environmental constraints that are going to prevent, and probably should prevent, some infrastructure in certain places. And then being sure that if Maryland is going to make an investment in additional rail infrastructure in those other areas, that we make sure we're protecting our interests and the service that we hope to get out of that.
Absolutely. Colleagues?
Thank you. The CSX was my first question, so thank you for addressing that. I also wanted to go back to, Ms. Arnold, as you talked about, and you just referenced the potential pilot of the 2 additional trains, and looking at the reports, as we talked about before, weekend usage, that was something that came up in the survey, and it also looked at, in one analysis, to be the place that you identified as having the highest potential for increased ridership, if I remember that correctly. Any discussions on possibly piloting weekend?
It's definitely something that we want to continue to push for, because opening up that market is very appealing to us, and we know it's a priority, but that likely requires some significant infrastructure investment.
That does for the weekend?
They use the weekend because there's not commuter rail service operating. They can just operate freely, and that's pretty valuable to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so part of the goal with the initial pilot for the midday service is a little bit kind of proof of concept, right? So yes, we ride it, and yes, for CSX, right, like the sky won't fall if we ride these additional trains, and so proving to them that it is doable, and then I think that may open up more opportunity for weekend discussions. But ultimately, as Kate mentioned, they do use the railroad on the weekend to just kind of run pretty freely, and that commuter rail constraint makes it harder for them to do their business.
I can actually hear the railroad from my bedroom window, so I know that. I actually do hear that. I think the other thing too is having conversations with the municipalities, in particular Garrett Park and Kensington, with MARC, and I'm sure you're doing that, but just keeping them also updated. I know particularly neither Kensington nor Garrett Park there is as easy access to other public transit to get folks into the downtown DC area. And I think as particularly the town of Kensington, as it's looking at its future, MARC is such a big part of that. So just wanted to put that in there anyway. Thank you so much for the update.
When we were creating the council districts 3 years ago with the redistricting commission, there were a lot of names for Councilmember Stewart's district. One that seemed to have stuck was the Bowtie district, but I always called it the MARC district because it has the most number of MARC stations or built up MARC stations in the county. So good questions. Councilmember Balcombe.
Thank you. Although we have the highest ridership
You
in my district. You do. So thank you for this update. I do want to say I recently took the trip. They did a 150th anniversary trip out to Brunswick, and so that was so fun for all the train nerds. I was one of them, and I can hear the train whistle in the evening, at night. It's nostalgic. So we talk about the lack of transit in the Up County. And we have heavy rail going to Germantown, Metropolitan Grove, and we just don't have the access to expanding that. So this is really important to my district. So and again, CSX has always been the obstacle, and so I think that of all the things that we could work on is that compromise with CSX to get more access, and looking at the areas where you're looking at adding the third track is promising, and I hope that we can continue to do that. I am concerned about the post-COVID ridership. It's really significant, and just anecdotally, we were at the Boyd's station not too long ago looking at a different project, a bus project, and for the first time ever, it wasn't full in the middle of the day, because that, people drive to where they can get a parking spot and keep on going. And so it's an interesting time where the ridership is significantly decreased, and at the same time that we're finally looking at adding additional service. So what are your thoughts about that, about how those two somewhat, I don't know if they're conflicting or complementary?
I mean, I think similar to the commuter bus situation that Holly was describing, the same things are affecting commuter rail ridership. Those early morning and early evening commute times have changed quite a bit, the look of that work. So I think that's where the market viability comes in, where we need to look at other markets. What are those midday trips where people may be going in for a couple of hours for a meeting or something like that, or going in for a medical appointment, or, there's lots of different travel markets that MARC and commuter rail, across the nation have traditionally not been serving. I think there's tremendous opportunity there. So that is certainly part of this plan, trying to understand what those specific markets are and make the sort of roadmap that we lay out as efficient as it can be to try to tap into those additional markets. Because I think if we continue to look just at the commuter market for this, we're missing out on a lot of opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that we're looking in the Economic Development Committee about just telework, and the change seems to, it's a forever change. So the issue of finding new riders for different reasons, I think, will help that.
Yeah, if I may, I think as we continue to plan for the future of MARC service and look at potential additional service, that's why the land use around the stations and transit-oriented development becomes even more important, right? Mm-hmm. So those additional markets and trip types, if you can tie them to the stations and kind of go from station to station, it does help to build the ridership of rail and help with land use around the area. So just, I think as we continue to plan, we look forward. Montgomery County has always been a great partner in that area, and just continued partnership there.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I'll just add one other element, right? Because we've been leading in that regard, having a master plan specifically for and around certain transit stations, particularly, the Germantown, right? And we've got to find some more money to help build some of that additional infrastructure there. But part of the conundrum is encouraging people and businesses to operate there, to move, to invest when the services are not what the expectations might be, right? And so it's an ongoing conversation, but clearly we've laid the groundwork and allowed some of the zoning. There's always more to do, and as the frequency improves or increases, so too will some of that development increase, and that's a shared goal that I know we all have. Yeah.
I do want to also add that, like for WMATA is seeing people return to numbers prior to COVID and the record days. And so I think it's been a while, and I do know that the federal agencies are doing a lot more to make sure people, I think it was the Department of Veterans Affairs just came out, the secretary there talked about making sure people were getting back to work. And so I think the Biden administration is doing a lot more. I'll just say at COG, we wrote a lot of letters and tried to get that happening. But I feel like we're seeing much more movement in that area, and WMATA, both in their bus and their metro service, are seeing the higher numbers coming back. So hopefully MARC will see that as well.
And go ahead, Ms. Arnold.
MARC growth last year was 13% over the year prior, so we're much closer to 50% where we were. The Brunswick line is second, so Penn line has recovered the most, and Brunswick is right behind it.
And that was going to be my question, because of the data here showed 2019, 2021, and 2022. Has it changed much from 2022?
So the 13% increase.
Oh, that was the 13%. Okay,
From
very good.
2022 into 2023. And we're happy to follow up and give you that specific data.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. Ms. Sylvester, do you have something else?
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
Turn off the microphone.
No. I saw your eagerness, so it was eagerness to turn off your microphone and leave. That's what it came from.
Marilyn's team are doing a great job leading the plan, and as we move forward, I'm sure we'd be happy to continue being in touch and hearing.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Do you have anything to add?
No, just great to be with you. The one thing I would add is I think one of the things we've been recognizing in the data too is the importance of intermodal connectivity. So the partnerships with Ride-On and Metro for the connections to MARC are really critical.
So I'll ask that one question, follow up there. We know that the Ride-On bus service tends to be a feeder for WMATA, for Metro. To your point, are people taking some of those other transportation services to get to MARC, or are they parking mostly in the lots?
The majority historically has been park and ride, but that's been evolving, and I think that's something that we're really watching is, especially as we're talking about the midday pilot, is how those trip purposes will change, and that's where that connectivity gets more and more important. I mean, I think it's you pointed out Silver Springs ridership. It's no coincidence that Silver Spring is also the largest hub in the county, right? So you get to Silver Spring, you get just about anywhere in Montgomery County, and that's important linkage.
Okay, good context. Thank you. Thank you all. Safe travels back. Okay. The third and final item on today's agenda is a review of Executive Regulation 821, Transportation Demand Management. We know that as our communities continue to grow, we want to encourage multimodal transportation. We want to encourage people to get to work using multimodal transportation options, and that once they're in our central business districts, they're able to walk safely. And these regulations came about from Bill 3618 that Council passed in 2019 before the pandemic, which is why this has been delayed a little bit. But it's part of this broader conversation about figuring out how people can get to work safely, how they can do so without being in single occupancy vehicles. And I know that that was the inception of this bill, which was introduced prior to that, and I believe, if memory serves, it was originally introduced by Councilmember Berliner back in the day, working with County Executive Leggett. And now we're 2 councils removed, right? But we're taking up these regulations. And so with that, Director Conklin, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you for that introduction. There has been a lot of work both on the bill that established the new procedures for transportation demand management that you referenced, and then also these regulations. And you're right to highlight the pandemic's impact on the timing of these regulations. That's one element. The other element was there were very significant comments on the first proposed draft executive regulation, so there was a major effort to address all those comments and provide the revision before you. The procedures that you've read about in this draft regulation are largely already operational because they're consistent with the provisions in the code that was passed by the council. So many of these things have been implemented, and the regulations are now are needed, but they're needed to confirm current practices that are already operationalized. So I have with me today Haley Peckett, who's the Deputy Director for Policy, and Sandy Brecker, who leads the Commuter Services section, which is largely responsible for implementation of this program and is the lead author for these regulations and the bill that was passed. The other element of note is that these regulations were developed initially with the legislation that Councilmember Berliner introduced at the time, so that the council had the context of the way the program would operate when the law was passed. And that's part of the reason why the lack of the regulations hasn't really been problematic in the meantime. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kenny if he has anything he'd like to say about the regulations.
Sure. Nothing to say about the regulation. I think the introduction from those who have spoken already is adequate. Just to confirm that we are here today to develop recommendations for council action, that this is a regulation that this council is considering for the first time, though it is a couple of years in the making. So, the next step from here will be a vote on this committee's recommendations at full council. Just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Do you want to walk us through, or however?
Ask Ms. Brecker to walk through the regulation, if that's helpful.
Yes, please.
How much time do you have? I'm Sandy Brecker, Chief of Commuter Services in the Office of Transportation Policy and Planning for MCDOT. So I just want to highlight perhaps a few of the key elements. We have approaches to implementing this for employers, and we have approaches to implementing it for projects, developments, new developments in particular, under the code. And this is to reflect both of those markets, shall we say, target markets. Much of what's in here is an effort to streamline the process that we had before. That was one of our key goals in doing this code originally, and then in following up with the regulations. We also wanted to provide flexibility for, particularly for the development community. And I might add that in developing the code and working on this earlier, we did have a lot of input from the development community, from the land use bar, from employers, et cetera. So there was a lot of input along the way. And also ensuring fairness, but accountability as well. And I think the staff has pointed that out in the cover memo as well. So extending TDM to a broader segment, transportation demand management. I always emphasize it's TDM, not TDM, but sometimes people think it's TDS. But in any event, extending those approaches to a broader segment of the county. So it's tied to the transportation policy areas, as you could probably see in going through it. Expanding beyond the TMDs, the transportation management districts, for the employer part, and then contingent on creating new TMDs from the standpoint of the new developments. So right now, the council has not created any of those new TMDs. We have 6 TMDs in existence today. Silver Spring being the very first one, and then the Friendship Heights or Chevy Chase area, the downtown area. They're focused on our high activity areas. But moving forward, if these provisions are to apply to more new developments, new projects, it will be necessary to create new districts, new TMDs. So with that, I guess I would just maybe quickly try to run through some of the provisions. Transportation demand management for employers. We have been doing that for a number of years. This doesn't make really huge changes, but it does apply it to a broader segment of the employers in the county. And so in the red policy areas, employers of 25 or more are required to file a TDM plan. Oh, I should add, we used to call these things different things, and it was somewhat confusing. We had traffic mitigation plans for employers, and we had traffic mitigation agreements for developers. So what we did in here is, with the code, we changed that so everybody's filing TDM plans, and they're either a TDM plan for an employer or they're a TDM plan for a development or building or project. So in any event, so TDM plans for employers, 25 or more in the red policy area are required to file a TDM plan. In the orange policy area, 100 employees or more, and in the yellow, 200. And so what the regs lay out is what's required in those plans. And it's pretty basic things. They're required to appoint a contact person, transportation coordinator, to distribute information on transportation alternatives, to participate in our biennial commuter survey, to provide a display area, and to file a report. And we have all of that online. So they file these plans online and they file the reports online. Then periodically, we're working, I should add, with these employers in our TMDs and in some other areas, but mostly we're resourced to focus still on TMDs. So we have outreach teams that are going out and working with these employers to help them with filing these plans. We look at it more as a way to organize your thinking about what you're doing to encourage your employees to consider alternatives to driving alone to work, basically. And so a lot of what you've heard today relates very strongly, of course, to those options. We need the underlying infrastructure of transit and biking and, scootering even to connect to transit. And so a lot of these services are very, very key in terms of how successful these efforts will be. And then for new development projects, as I said, those are still confined just to the TMDs. We have 3 levels. The basic level requires just about the same kinds of things I outlined for the employer plans, and that's for developments that are in different sizes depending on where they are in terms of the red, orange, or yellow part of that. But when they file those, we work with them again. And this is where a big change has happened because those used to be these traffic mitigation agreements. And at times, we had long negotiations with the development community. So what we've tried to do in the code and then following up in the reg is to make it more explicit, to make it easier to follow, and to make it a streamlined process. And I will tell you, even though we've had a delay in developing these regs, we've learned things along the way, and it's working. It really is. We have a template that we're using for each level, and we're still getting sometimes a little bit of pushback from some projects, mostly at the 3rd level when there's more required. But that basic level is a no-brainer, sort of, and then the 2nd level is a middle sort of effort, and then the 3rd level is where we're getting most of the applications, which is in the TMDs, but it's the larger projects. So there is a table that's in here on page 8 of your pack, or of the reg, that shows where each level applies, depending on what the policy area is. And then, again, the transportation coordinator, and keeping us notified about who that is. That's one of our big challenges, believe it or not. Somebody will come in with a plan, but then, a year later, there's somebody new and we don't have a way to contact them. So that's written in here. And putting in information and having strategies identified for levels 2 or 3. Level 1, they don't need to identify any strategies, just work with us. So I don't know whether you want to go into more detail about each of these levels, but one of the things I imagine there will be some questions about is what happens if they don't achieve their goals that are established. And those goals, by the way, are set by council. Those are goals that are identified in the growth and infrastructure policy. Some of them stem from master plans and sector plans, of course. So they're supposed to work toward achieving those goals in the level 2, and they're actually supposed to achieve those goals in level 3, and that was part of the accountability part that we heard a lot from the community and others about. So they have a number of years to do that. All of this doesn't, the implementation of this does not kick in until after a building or project is occupied. And so, and it can kick in sort of gradually. There might be a portion of it that's occupied, and we work with them beginning that, and actually ideally before that. And that's one reason for this contact information. We're trying to set things up. And we also have recommendations that we put into the approvals, the development approvals, that are physical recommendations in some cases. For example, we're encouraging new developments in these TMDs to provide corrals for e-scooters, because otherwise they're very likely to be left in a lot of different locations. And so we're trying to work with the vendors on e-scooters, and we're working also with the developers to say, provide a place that is a designated place. That's just one of many options. If you would like, we can go through more of this, or you might have some questions.
Well, so I'll leave it to colleagues to ask me specific questions, but starting from the beginning, I remember when the bill was passed, I was here, and there were a lot of concerns from employers and those in the real estate community about it. In the time since, you've said that it's been through conversation, it's been amended and changed. Can you share what some of those changes have been based on the conversations that you've had?
Well, in your packet, there should be a link to all of the comments that we received. And in that far right column, we've indicated what changes were made as a result of certain kinds of comments. And we did add, in a few cases, some greater flexibility to adjust to some of the specifics of a certain development. But of course, we're constrained to some extent by the code, to a large extent, I should say. Yeah. So there were changes that were sought that perhaps will, in the future need to be addressed as we move forward with implementation further to see if, there are some changes needed from that standpoint. But we did make a number of changes to respond to some of those comments.
So just so I understand it, Mr. Kenny, can you elaborate a little bit more? I'm just trying to figure out where that link on what page.
Okay.
Sure. So on the cover page of the staff report, there is a link to the table of comments on Executive Regulation 821. You'll see on that table, as Ms. Becker was saying, that most of the comments did not result in any change, as they were. As the objections that were made were to the code itself, and obviously that was not within the purview of this regulation development process. The changes that were made largely gave MCDOT greater discretion on on determining additional funding required. A lot of the monetary components, a lot of the fees that are required of developers. The changes that were made granted more discretion to DOT on evaluating extenuating circumstances and mitigating harm to developers and employers in certain situations. Happy to let DOT elaborate further, but from a council staff standpoint, those changes were really the only ones that made any material change from the original, text of the bill and the original text of the regulation.
So I think you touched on two important components in there. One is what goal is set for a project, a development project. I don't think there was a lot around the employer plans. That's pretty well established. Most of it was around development projects. So each policy area has a goal that's set in the growth and infrastructure plan or elsewhere. But those policy areas aren't uniform. So, for example, in North Bethesda, you may have a project location that is 3/4 of a mile from a metro stop, and you may have another project that's on top of the metro stop. Clearly, the ability of those two projects to meet the goal is going to be different. The one that's on top of the metro station should exceed the policy area goal. The one that's not may not be able to get to the policy area goal. So part of the change was to give the department more discretion or ability to be flexible in setting that goal within ranges around the policy area goal. It's going to be difficult because everybody's going to want to be lower because the penalties kick in if you don't hit your project goal. So, but that seemed reasonable for us to include. The other thing that's, I think, important to mention is that the way this is implemented is based on establishing a level of effort for the project. So you have to set your plan and commit resources to obtain the results within your plan, and there's a certain investment that's required by the project owner to operate those programs. If you, over what's a relatively long period of time, 8 to 10 to 12 years, aren't able to get to those goals, you're required to provide more effort towards getting those goals, and it's set in terms of multiples of the TDM fee, which is 10
cents per
a
gross
square foot.
Right.
10 cents.
10 cents per gross square foot, yeah.
So you may have to then contribute 20 cents per gross square foot, not to us, but for you as the building owner to operate your program. And then once you achieve your results, those requirements,
And continue.
they continue, but you're not subject to paying more over time. You're required to meet the goal. So those are the areas where that adjustments and flexibility were mostly focused in the comments.
Thank you for elaborating on that. So there's two parts here, which you just hit upon. One is the employer part, and not wanting to overburden employers with dealing with how their staff are getting to and from the workplace. For me, this is, somewhat of an onboarding issue, right? When someone comes on board, you share with them some information, situational awareness about their new work environment and how they can best get there. I think it would be very helpful if the department were maybe to create some one-pages for the different TMDs. I get TDM and TMDs mixed up, but helping the employers with papers for just onboarding, that if you're in downtown Bethesda, if you're in North Bethesda, in Silver Spring, wherever it might be, here are the transit routes, here are the options, and have it be in that same folder as they hand out to their staff. I think that would help them because they're not in the business of transportation management, but whatever we can do to educate the employees, which is really what the focus is here. It's helping them understand how best to get to their workplace. With regard to the development, I think it is a trickier issue because this conversation we are having is not in a vacuum. It is predicated on the other two panels that we had a conversation on about the budgets and making sure that our metro runs on time, that we have MARC service, that we have ride-on service. And there is concern I have with faulting anyone else for the deficiencies that we in government might create with regard to transportation. And if there are, to expand upon this, if we do not have housing in certain parts of the county and people are driving in, then I don't think necessarily the building owner, property owner, or employer should be faulted for having a workforce that can't afford to live in our community, right? And I think that puts us in a tough spot. On the flip side, because this is this is a chicken or the egg conversation. We need to continue encouraging people and providing them with options and educating them. But I have some concerns about faulting anybody else for the lack of transportation network that we might have.
I could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah.
So we haven't had, this hasn't been in place long enough for us to have experience of people not meeting their goals. That may or may not happen in eight more years. The council has options for how they could address that if that starts to become problematic. One way, the most basic way, is to make sure the options are there, which you highlighted.
Yeah.
The second way you could address that is by changing the requirement for additional effort. If additional effort to get people to use something that isn't there isn't going to be helpful. So you could change that effort. The third way you can do this is every time you update the growth and infrastructure policy, you have the option to change the policy area goals. That may require us to come up with a process to amend TDM plans in the future if the policy area goals are amended. But I think that those are three avenues through which that issue can be addressed in the longer term. At the moment, that's not an issue before us.
Growth and infrastructure will be taken up
Yes.
this summer. You know, you're preparing. Okay, helpful. We need to get this on the table and have a full understanding of what all our different roles and options are. Ms. Brecker, did you have anything else to
Yes,
add?
well, just that, I think Chris is right that, there are a number of options. There is some flexibility, as we said, built into some of this, but some of it is it might require amending the code as well. That's another option.
Mm-hmm.
And
the YouTube video exists. I did have concerns about it originally, about how it would be implemented, not about the goal. Again, I think we can all agree about the goal, but the implementation, yeah. Do you have any comment? No?
got a lot,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, you want to go? I saw you taking notes. I assumed you wanted to hop in.
Yeah, so thank you. So I have a lot of questions and a lot of concerns, and so I don't know how we want to go through them in a methodical way. But first, I want to look at what our role here today is, right? Because from the perspective of it, is there a clock ticking for when we have to vote on this before it automatically goes into effect in terms of regulation? What is the method that this is under?
method 2, yeah, I think it's 60 days, or is it?
Method 2 is 60 days
So-
from when it was
When it was.
sent over.
So if the council doesn't act within 60 days, it automatically goes into effect?
I believe that's right.
Yes, so we're dealing with a number of executive regulations, and so method 2, we have 60 days from when it was conveyed to us, either that or posted, but I think it's when it's sent to us. And then, but we do have the option of extending it.
Right,
And
I think there's-
just like with the BEPS legislation,
Sure.
we're going to be extending that as we continue having conversations.
Right, so I just wanted to clarify that, because so thank you. Just a global question of residential versus commercial, right? So why is residential included? Why was it included in the code? And by the way, I did watch the hearing, so why was residential included in the code?
Well, actually, residential had been in the code before, but we really had not addressed it strongly. And then the council made a decision to have goals established for residential commuting in multiple TMDs. So we actually had a limited amount of goals in one TMD in the North Bethesda area, and that was the only one originally that had any residential non-auto driver mode share goals. And then I believe it was Bethesda that there was a decision made during the master planning process, perhaps, that residential goals should be adopted, and it went to a blended approach for both. And I think that's partly because there was so much residential development going on, in that area. Go ahead.
But what are we trying to say that the owner or developer of a residential unit is required to monitor and change the behavior of the residents? Are they responsible for the non-auto driver mode share of their residents?
Well, in the same way that we ask that of commercial developments for employees working there, we want them to provide information. We want them to provide the right set of incentives and disincentives, for example. Parking is one of the big underpinnings to a lot of this, and bundling parking. And we found in the past that specifically with residential developments, but also commercial ones, that owners were requiring people to take a certain number of parking spaces when they would rent or buy.
So I think I understand that, but then if we get to the perspective of then we're starting to require them to pay a fee and pay for each individual resident certain amount of, I mean, at what point does the residential piece stop? They just submit a plan depending on where they are in the what policy area or the TMD?
Yeah, so just to reinforce, the vast majority of trips are not work trips. There are other kinds of trips. So that's the basic reason residential is included. But to your second question, the fee is a set amount. There's no change in the fee. But if the building isn't meeting its goals, it has to, within the building by itself, the ownership of the building, has to commit additional resources to try to work to set the goals. And that caps out, is it 3 times the TDM fee or is it 2?
Well, it depends. Over the years, it can be as high as 8, but that's over more than 12 years or about 12 years or something from when they get started, yeah.
And our own program has pivoted to be focused on multiple types of trip making, not just employer-based trip making.
Right. However, I want to add, the non-auto driver mode share goals are still based on commuting trips. Now, that could change in the future, but that's what you all had, determined in the past.
That's the data that's already.
Right, and I know that that's not a regulation thing, it's a code thing, and I just don't understand how we can govern or change the behavior of someone driving to Pennsylvania every weekend to visit their mom.
Oh, but that isn't a commuting trip, so that wouldn't be a.
But the other issue is that the owner of the residential unit has to monitor how far their residents live from their jobs. Is that what you're?
No, we measure this through our commuter survey. So the owner doesn't have to monitor that. We are obtaining that data every other year, except during the pandemic, but that's another story. We didn't do the survey, every other year during the pandemic. But the owner then works with us. We look at what the results are from that, and then look at what kind of incentives and disincentives exist in their policies for that building, and try to have them adopt strategies that will encourage their residents to use non-auto modes to commute. Now, right now, it's just commuting. And for residents, it's how are they commuting to their job from that TMD. So it's residents living in the TMD and then commuting out to go to work.
But if that resident lives and works in the same TMD.
They will be counted as internal, right?
Okay, so the owner of the residence has to expend funds to change behavior, and the owner or business, the owner of the commercial development has to pay to change the behavior of the commute.
They don't have to. As Chris was saying, the fees are one thing. The TDM fees, the 10 cents a gross square foot, that's to support the programs that we are offering.
Right. I'm talking about the funds that they have to pay.
For their on-site program, if they can show that they can achieve their goals without spending a dime, that's fine. We just want them to achieve their goals. And the only way we're going to get to the goals that council has set for each of these areas is if each individual project does achieve the goals. In fact, as the code calls for and as there's in the regs, we're actually setting the goal for new projects higher than the overall goal, because otherwise you will never be able to get to that goal, given all the other buildings that already exist in each of these areas.
So I think that's a code issue, and we can look at that.
Yeah, it may be, yes.
Because I just feel like we're double dipping there if, in terms of asking the owner of the residential building to provide effort, and the commercial, for the same trip, right?
I see what you're getting at. You're saying if someone's commuting, say, internal to downtown Bethesda or downtown Silver Spring, that, you have effort being made at the residential end and you have effort being made. Yes, but that would be for a limited number of those trips. And in some cases, in many cases, the effort at the work end can be more successful, and that's why originally the program was really focused there, because a lot of the incentives that exist are work-based. So, for example, transit benefits, for the most part, are offered through the employer under federal law. Now, there are some exceptions and things, but so that employee may very well be getting transit benefits if they're, at that work end. But the good news is that in most cases, there are other options for that person. It's very likely if they are living and working in downtown Bethesda, they're not taking a car, hopefully, to work. So, there are really positive things. We want people to live near their work for that reason. Same thing that Councilmember Glass mentioned, that, if we have adequate housing in some of these areas and jobs, then those connections can be made by biking or walking or, scootering or, other even short transit trips.
Okay. Okay, so the other, I guess the other global issue is the fee. So right now, it's 10 cents per gross square foot. That's not in the regulation. The regulation basically says that the fees need to cover the cost of the program. Is that how it is in the reg?
It's in the code that the fees need to cover the costs, I believe. The council sets, I don't know if you want to.
I was going to say the fees don't cover the cost of the program.
No, they
cover
don't.
about 25% of the
Right,
cost of
right.
the program, but council sets the fee.
Right.
As part of the fees table on each budget.
Right, the fees, fines, and fares resolution that the council passes each year as part of the operating budget, that's where the fee amounts are set.
Okay. And then I know that you don't like the word penalty, but the cost of not complying, we get to the point, to Committee Chair Glass's point of if the owner doesn't meet the goals, if we start on page 19, if the owner doesn't meet the goals in year 6, 8, 10, then the fee, I don't know what else to call it, but a fee or
The on-site contribution.
the on-site contribution,
right.
the money that the has to invest in the changing behavior. First starts, it's 2 times, then 4 times, then 6 times, then 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, no amount of money is going to get to the goal. And I feel like this is really punitive in terms of if the infrastructure isn't available, or the employees, say AstraZeneca, for instance, or any large company, if they're attracting employees from all around the DMV, and the infrastructure is not available to get for transit, and they've tried to, in good faith, to do this, yet they can't meet the goal. I don't understand how forcing them to expend more money to get to the goal is going to work. And it just feels really punitive because if they've done, they've looked at their parking and they've looked at incentives for transit and they've looked at, there's just no amount of money that's going to change that. And it just feels really punitive in this regard.
Let me just say one thing. If they are required to spend more, and remember, right now, 10 cents a square foot, so 8 times would be 80 cents a square foot. They could, for example, the example you're giving, perhaps start shuttle services from some of the areas where they don't have adequate infrastructure in order to bring employees. And as you know, there are employers who have done that, particularly in California, but other employers have done that as well. And so there are a lot of different options. You're right, it's not a great idea to just say, oh, you have to do this and it's your punishment for not achieving the goal. But there are a lot of things that money can buy. And so incentives and other options, that's what I'm trying to say, yeah.
But that's still, creating a shuttle service from Hagerstown to Gaithersburg on a daily basis is significant cost. And at some point, there's going to be just diminishing returns for these types of services. And the amount of funds invested in trying to change employee behavior.
So just a couple points exactly along the lines of what you're talking about. The red policy areas had established a plan where the county needs to attain the goal that's set for those. That's the fundamental baseline of this. So without the contributions from the individual projects or employers reaching that goal, the goal can't be met. So the way this was structured was to, I don't like using the word ensure because you can't ensure it, but to provide as much incentive as possible for the individual projects to meet that mode share goal for that policy area. And the amount of investment in this regulation is capped at that 8 times the fee because eventually you're right, there is a futility to doing more to get something that can't be attained. What you're pointing at may be an issue in the goal setting more than in the process here, because if we are establishing a goal that's unrealistic for a policy area, we will see this problem, and we will see people having to contribute 8 times their TDM fee to get to that. It may not get to it then, but at least at that point their exposure is capped. And these levels are something that were an element of discussion with the development community when this regulation was put forth, thinking that this is about as far as we could go before we left the realm of reasonableness in terms of an enforcement procedure for this policy. And then the only other point I wanted to just make sure was in your thinking is that transit is not the only element of meeting this TDM goal. Work at home is a component of it, so telework is a component of it, and carpool, vanpool, and other means that still rely upon individual motor vehicles serving smaller areas are components of this. So it's not a percentage of the people who are on site on that particular day to meet the goal. It's a percentage of the overall workforce. So if they have a teleworking plan, that contributes towards meeting this goal. And obviously at very little additional cost.
Right, I appreciate that. And I did look at that as a kind of a yin and yang thing for the teleworkers, because they're included in, the downside is that they're included in the definition of if they report to that location, even if they're teleworking full-time, are you counting them?
They count as non-auto driver.
But they also count as part of the threshold of 200 employees or 100 employees, right? So.
Well, they are employed there, right? So they are an employee of that employer.
Right. So if an employer, if employer has 300 employees and only 100 of them come into work, or all 300 come in half-time, they hit a threshold that they have a higher requirement in this.
This doesn't apply. on
It
the
doesn't, yeah, the requirements are for projects, although it's still an apt example because employers may be tenants in that project, but the employer themselves are not required to hit the non-auto driver mode share. It's the development project, it's the building, or the, the project. And so that's the difference. The employers are required to have plans, and certainly the owner of the building is going to be very interested in encouraging those employers to have good plans, because that will help the building achieve its goals to the extent you have a multi-tenanted, building there. But the employers are just required to file plans, and we work with them to try to, get them to file really great plans, and over time, hopefully increase that. But they are not required to meet any particular non-auto driver mode share.
Okay. I have
Yeah.
a lot of small ones, but
Well, so I very much appreciate the direction of this conversation. You can keep going if you
I
want.
don't want to hog time.
Well, do you have any?
I have just a couple of, but keep
So two options here, and let's just throw it all on the table. There's a lot of questions, right? And based on my questions and your questions, we haven't heard yours yet, but at least a majority of this committee at this point in time want to continue this conversation. And so I'll jump to the chase and ask Mr. Kenny to prepare a resolution for next week at the council so that we can extend this regulation for further consideration. What was the date that it was conveyed?
December 14th.
Okay, so next Tuesday is just in front of that deadline. And so any objection to that, so we can continue this? Right, no, absolutely. If you want to continue for the public conversation, I welcome you to
Yeah,
keep going.
just cut me off when you're ready.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and thank you. And I appreciate the work that you do, and we work together in the Shady Grove.
Yes,
TMD.
former member of one of our advisory committees. for
Right.
TMD, yeah.
Okay, so then let's just start on page 4. So the section A, 2A, the designate a contact person, transportation coordinator, great. But it feels like the last sentence should be a separate category. It doesn't seem like it belongs here, right? So the requirement is they designate a contact person, but it doesn't really outline what information needs to be conveyed.
Are you referring to the sentence, this information will
Yes.
include data and policies?
Yep.
Okay.
So is this prescriptive, or at what point do you at what point do you outline what needs to be in the plan?
Well, this is about designating the person who is the contact
Right.
person, but we're trying to say this is what some of their duties are. This is,
Well, I would
maybe I'm
say.
not understanding your question.
Well, I feel like that, so if this requirement is to designate the contact person.
Right.
Then that is the requirement, designate the contact person. If then you want to say, and the contact, and it's not that the individual needs to convey that, the employer needs to convey this information. It just, you're
This information sentence is defining what the information is that's under the provide information in the sentence above. It is probably redundant to list the information here.
Well, the question is, if it's redundant, then does each plan need to have all of this information in it?
No. This is the sort of information that we're expecting that individual to be able to provide and to receive from the county.
So I would suggest that it feels prescriptive in this sentence because, for instance, I had a pushback on looking at the residential, where people live and work, if you're trying to convey that, if they're required to convey that information?
Can I make a recommendation? What if you change the language to say, this person shall be qualified to gather information such as?
Well, if I could jump in, I mean, it says may include, and so the question is how far that goes.
Is there a requirement for, is there a prescriptive information for what the plan must include?
What's
Well,
the
the
bare minimum is
plan-
what you're asking.
Yeah.
Plan needs to include the transportation coordinator.
Right.
The plan is, then we're working with them to implement the plan, and so as we're doing that, we might want to have information on, for example, how many employees are on a certain shift, or, if we're trying to maybe do carpool vanpool matching with that we would want to have zip codes.
What if they don't want to give you that information?
Well, I'd have to check the code. We did specify in the code, because there have been times when we've had issues about that. Let me see what the code says, if there is something.
I didn't see it in the code.
But what we're trying to do here is get information when we need it in order to provide alternatives to people. And so without that information, for example, we can't say, oh, here are some vanpool or carpool options for this employer, because we don't have, how many people are working at any given time and what are their zip codes. We're not asking for personal information, if that's what you're getting at. We're not saying you have to have names of everybody, but we would want to know their policies, yes, that would be part of putting the plan together. And then, the numbers and the zip codes.
Yeah,
Have to
so,
see what we have said.
so I guess what then if you're requiring specific information from each employer, it should be and you're requiring that should be in the regulation.
I don't think it's uniform in the current way we do it. If we have a 3-person employer, and we're probably not seeking the same information as a 5,000
Sure. Okay.
person employer.
Okay, in the code, it does say, upon written request from the director, an employer must provide the director with the number of full-time and part-time employees working for that organization by workplace in each policy area or district.
But it doesn't say where they live.
No, that was kind of detail, I guess, that we assumed we would put into the reg. But zip code, we're not saying we need their address, but we're saying the zip code in order to make a mapping effort to see if there are areas where they cluster employees that would all be coming to work at around the same time, that type of thing. So to be able to assist them, we would need to have that kind of, however, it does say may, and so we would only take information that we needed.
So I understand where Councilmember Balcombe is going, right? And on one hand, if there's a feeling that this is overburdensome on the employer, then this only adds to that. But if you want to make this regulation worth something, you need to understand the commuting patterns. You need to understand where they're coming to, right? So I understand it on both sides.
Yeah, and I don't object to asking for the zip code. But I think that it's, if the regulation is prescriptive, and I know that you want the leeway, it's just a matter of, at some point, an employer might say, I don't want to give you that information, and if it's not in the code. So that's what I'm saying about. And then again, to go back to the issue of residential units, the work locations of residents, it shouldn't be in this section for employers.
You're right. Okay, I see what you're saying there, or work locations of residents should not be under employer plans. That's a mistake.
So I would suggest that the Section A, designate the contact person, I suggest that there be a Section B that says what the information may include. It just, having those two sentences under designate the contact person, just,
So you're saying make that a separate paragraph,
yep.
in essence. But are you saying as well to say will as opposed to may or must?
No, I think may is fine. I get rid of the work locations for residents.
Right.
But and then I guess the allow periodic presentations of transportation information. There's no attendance required. The employer just has to allow that to happen, right?
Correct. We usually incentivize that with pizza or ice cream or something.
Yeah, okay, great. Then the county may, page 5, number 5.
And do you want to tick through
Yeah,
so that we have on the record your
Yes.
questions? And then we'll pick this up
Yep.
because we're going to definitely
Yep.
have another conversation.
yep. Page 5, number 5, the county may publish TDM plans. Are those anonymous? Or you're going to,
No, we weren't thinking, we haven't done it, but we felt that it would be important for the community to be able to see. That was part of the goal of the whole effort, was accountability. And so, I can see you're not happy with that. So it hasn't been addressed one way or the other. We haven't said whether it would be anonymous or not. I don't know what the point, I guess we could compile the data and we could do it
I
collectively.
guess I don't know what the point of publishing it, if, because the employer isn't beholden to the community to do this. The employer is beholden to the county to, to abide by this regulation. So if the county DOT is satisfied that the employer has met the requirement, there's no need to publish this, publicly publish it. And if it were to be published, I don't know what the reason would be to publish it. But I don't think that the employer's name needs to be identified because it's not a public requirement.
So one of the roles of the advisory committee, as you know, is to approve or recommend the approval of these plans. They used to be called traffic mitigation plans, as I was mentioning before, TMPs. But those come to each of the advisory committees. So they're already really public in the sense that we don't have closed meetings. Those are part of the agenda. They're actually put on our website already in the sense of a summary of them, not the actual plan, but our staff people summarize them for the committee so
Right.
that they can approve them.
And I think that's far different than the county may publish TDM plans.
So you're saying a summary of the plans would be okay, and those are associated with the employer's name, I would add.
Well, I
when they
think
go to
that-
the committee, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that it's, I just don't know to what end why the county would publish it with the employer's name and.
I could see merit in a best practice, right? Take a look at employer X, and this is something that they've done. I don't know how you'd convey that, whether it needs to be on the internet or whatnot, which is probably what you're thinking, right?
Yeah.
And they are public documents.
They are.
We don't have the ability to shield these from anybody who wants to see them.
Okay. I'm okay with that it just, it feels, again, like like we're trying to call them out of whether their plan is a good plan or a bad plan or.
Well, the advisory committee makes recommendations, and we have had recommendations made by advisory committees where they say, we think this employer really should be doing more. They're, a larger employer, they're located very close to transit, and yet they don't do very much to encourage their employees, and they're giving free parking. So I think that the community has an interest in seeing what the business community, what the employment community is doing to help achieve these, because as we noted before, employers have a really major role to play in how their employees get to work. If they're offering free parking and they're not offering transit benefits, then a lot of employees are going to be more inclined to drive.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but then also, there's also the incentive of, there may be a incentive to hire people who live closer to the job, right? Mm-hmm. That's a huge problem for people who don't live in areas where there are jobs.
Okay, I see your point, but they have options. But, I don't want to belabor it. It's just that was, the orientation of this was to make this a more effective approach. Maybe that goes a little too far. I don't know. I'd have to check and see what provisions are in the code again to see what we're.
So I want to wrap this up by 12. I know Councilmember Stewart has some comments, and then you want to make, is it okay? Do you want to keep going?
No, I don't need to keep going, but I do want to make this point, just because we started talking about it. Throughout this, and we'll talk about it again, especially when we talk about, 2 times, 4 times, 6 times, 8 times, right? If it becomes costly for the owner to do this, there is a great incentive to hire people who live close to the office.
Well, or perhaps on a transit route that serves that office.
Correct. And where are there people who don't live close to jobs and not on transit routes? Half of the county. So I think that's a problem. Mm-hmm. So
let me ask something. Is it possible, I don't know whether this is format-wise, would you like to have an outline of all of your questions that we could look at that before our next session so that we could be prepared?
Yeah, you all are encouraged to have a conversation. Appreciate you raising all of these, and the point you ended on was unintended consequences. We should always be.
Interesting question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, definitely worth further discussion. Councilmember Stewart.
I just wanted to pick up on the last one because we talk about, you said the advisory committee sometimes may want to call out people who they think they can do better, but do we ever publicly praise?
Oh, yes.
And so,
Yes,
yeah,
we do.
I think that.
We have recognition events, and prior to the pandemic, we used to have county events as well, but we have, there's a regional, the Council of Governments. You know that. So I'm sorry. I don't need to tell you about that. So yes, there are, and also written into the regs is a provision where there would be another incentive for after 10 years, granted it's a long period, but so they have a long period to comply as well, that they would have, half of the TDM fees would be waived. That's one option, and we also have a provision in there for some flexibility if they want to propose a different incentive or a different reward, if you will.
And I know, just so I can situate my head on where we are in this, because obviously we have the code, and then the regs were delayed. But Director Conklin, I believe you said in opening remarks that this is operating, and you're basically operating under these regs right now, even though they haven't been adopted.
Yes, and regs very similar to this were published when the code was, not published, but included in the packets when the code was adopted.
Okay. And I think I'll save other detailed questions, and thank you to Councilmember Balcombe. But one of the things I did, since we had WMATA here, or we talked about WMATA earlier, and I know that they are not seeing an uptick in people using the LIFT program. That's to benefit people who are on SNAP. They're not seeing the enrollment levels that they would like to be seeing, and so I don't know if that's part of the outreach teams to making sure, since it's a fairly new program, but I know that is something that WMATA would really like to see a greater uptick in.
Yes. And we have added that to some of the programs. We have a lot of different programs out there. So, yes, that's an important point, and we have been trying to get the word out about that as well.
Great, and I think I would ask, since it looks like we're going to do another session on this, maybe Mr. Kenny, if we could get more information, because I think it would be helpful to know from your perspective for the next packet, like what are you all looking at right now in terms of the programs and other things, if you had some of that written out, like in terms of what people are doing now and what you consider in the plans? Because I think that might be helpful for the conversation, that we have some understanding of what the expectation is and what you're looking at right now and the plans that are moving forward, and placing these regs in perspective on how onerous or not onerous they are, or what the unintended consequences might be, if we had a better understanding of what are the types of things we're actually asking people to do and what people are actually doing.
We could provide the templates that we're using. I think that might be helpful. Yeah.
I think in the packet for next time would be really helpful. Thank you, that's all I have.
And then I'll just add one other element too for your consideration as we engage in some of these conversations and raise additional questions. Much of this is predicated, or at least tied to, the growth and infrastructure policy. And so let's look at that policy, and perhaps we might have to hold this conversation closer to or in conjunction with that growth and infrastructure policy, which I know is beyond the 2-month extension that we're going to grant next week, but it's inextricably tied.
Yeah, and I appreciate the conversation. I can't remember whether it was Director Conklin or Ms. Breckler that said it. The issue is the goals, right? And if they can't meet, after 4 times, 6 times, 8 times the investment, if they can't meet it, perhaps the goal needs to change, and that's on us. So I appreciate that.
Great. Thank you. So we'll have that resolution to extend this Method 2 regulation on the council agenda for next week, and we'll continue this conversation. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.